The Portland Trailblazers currently have the sixth best odds to land Ja Morant in a trade. Something I didn't see coming if you would have talked to me at this time last week. But here we are, fast forward a little bit, and it now appears that the Blazers could land Ja Morant. Anthony Simons has a cryptic post on social media that people ran with.
I would say, I'll go with some firsthand knowledge here. The guy can't just post some pictures.
Not this time of year. No.
Look,
are you familiar with the National Basketball Association and the shenanigans that happen this time of year?
If I was an NBA player, I would be so unhinged in this time of year, around the trade deadline and around draft free agency.
Yeah.
I would just be posting pictures and emojis. I'm honestly surprised that like Blake Griffin's the only one that's ever really done it.
As long as he's not like disgruntled about people overreacting. But if you're going to post something with zero context, people, you should expect people to be like, I'm going to try to read between the lines. It's
I will
the
say,
NBA.
To be fair too, Ant does have ties to Memphis, not just the basketball team, but the city of Memphis, and Penny Hardaway, Jaden Hardaway is one of his best friends. Like he has a lot of his dad's from Tennessee. Like those, like that's where a lot of that stuff comes from.
Well, that picked up even more steam after it died down relatively quickly. Mm-hmm. Like the internet only lasts for a couple of hours. But then it picks back up because of the fact that Memphis did make a big trade. And immediately people were drawing the lines to not Ja Morant in Portland, but Desmond Bane in Portland with the Memphis Grizzlies when Ant had that post on Snapchat. Well, Desmond Bane did get traded yesterday. Bane gets traded to Orlando. Mm-hmm. The Magic send to Memphis Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Cole Anthony, the 16th pick in this year's draft, a 2028 first-round pick, a 2030 first-round pick, and a pick swap wedged in between in 2029. None of them have protections on them. Well, obviously the 16th pick does not.
And then the swap, or not the swap, the last pick has a very light protection on the back of it.
This is just, first of all, that is an insane haul for Desmond Bane, who is a very good player.
And that's the thing is, I think in general, I think we'll disagree on it being an overpay. It's under this CBA, there have been deals like Denny, trading for Denny. People are like, oh my God, they gave up so much for Denny. And it's like, then you see Denny playing, you're like, did they? No, I don't think so. I think they got it about right.
I've seen Desmond Bane for 5 years, though, and he's good. He's a very good
player. Here's the thing. What Orlando did was they scanned not just the market, because Desmond Bane wasn't on the market. They scanned the league for player at a certain age, at a certain position, that did things that they wanted, which was they wanted a plus offensive player who was a plus defensive player who was physical. Mm-hmm. And that narrowed the net that was cast very tightly. There was, a handful of players that were going to meet this criteria. And then they make an offer that Memphis has to take. Because did you see Kleiman's press conference afterwards?
No.
He basically said, we ran up against it. This is it. Like, we had to make a change. And now, if you look at the two other guys that are left in Ja and Jaren, like Jaren's a defensive player of the year. Ja is a no doubt all-star. Now,
Jaren Jackson
Jr., yes. But with Ja Morant, you have the other stuff. But like, what's harder to get? The 7-foot unicorn who's a defensive player of the year who can stretch the floor and like be the anchor of your defense, or a really good two guard.
Yeah. And that is where you go over. That's where it's like an overpay. Well, yeah. I mean, you can sit there, you can find those guys. Mm-hmm. You can find guys. And now he does it at a higher level, and it's proven.
Both ends.
Both ends of the floor. He is plus 100%, but they needed shooting in Orlando. Mm-hmm. We know that. They also need creation to open things up for Paolo and Franz. And did they get that? I didn't get the creator that is going to garner the gravity that you need.
I do think they did in a sense. So number one, you're this move is predicated on Jalen Suggs repeating his shooting form before he got injured, like being a plus shooter. Because with Paolo and Franz, those are the guys they're going to handle. Those are going to be the creators. The problem is that when they were kicking out, nobody's rotating because nobody gave a damn. Because the shooting just wasn't there. Now, if Desmond Bane is a 40+% three-point shooter on volume, and Jalen Suggs is a 38% three-point shooter on at least decent volume, now you've got two absolute bowling balls in Paolo and Franz, who were, even if they're not plus defenders, they're so big, they're so strong, they're so mobile that they're going to be difficult to deal with. Jalen Suggs, who's one of the best point of attack defenders in the league, and Desmond Bane, who's a very good defender, they're going, look at Indiana, look at OKC, look at Houston, look at the teams that are young and that are up and coming. And we talked about this a couple months ago, the difference between the weakest link versus the strongest link. And I think there's a lot of teams in the league right now that are looking at the NBA Finals and going, yeah, it's great if we can have one of the three best players in the NBA. Super helpful. And, with the Thunder, they have that. But you look at the Pacers, and they're right there, and they don't. They've got maybe a top 10 player. Maybe I think you can make the argument for Hallie. But it's more about they don't have any weaknesses. And if you look at the Magic going into next year in the Eastern Conference, if everyone's healthy, you're looking at a lineup of Jalen Suggs, Desmond Bane, Franz Wagner, Paulo Banchero, Goga Bitadze.
All right. I then counter with this, because this is going to be the big one. You give up your first-round pick in 28, 29, 30. Well, it's a swap in 29.
Yeah.
Okay. How do you get better when we know that the cap is far more punitive? Orlando is not the most cash flush of organizations that are going to be willing to pay over in that second apron. When Franz is going to be making, let's just take the 2027 season.
Yeah.
Okay. You're paying Franz $45 million, Bane $42 million, Suggs $30 million, and oh, by the way, Paulo Banchero is in the final year of his rookie deal this year, so you're going to be paying him Franz money, if not more. And how do you get better if you don't have any young talent coming in because your picks are gone?
Yeah, and here's the thing. So if you're Orlando, you made this move because Boston's taking a step back with Tatum out for the year. The Bucks are, if they keep Giannis, which it sounds like it might end up going that way, which is, I think, a bit of a surprise to everybody. But the Bucks are probably out. You've got the Pacers and you've got the Cavs. Those are the teams that you're looking at. And then probably Detroit, right? If you're Orlando, if you're healthy and you've got Jalen, Desmond, Franz, Paulo, there's no reason the reason you make this move is because the window's wide open. And you could talk yourself into doing what Indiana did this year, coming out of the East. I think it's pretty easy to, like, if you're in that organization, to see the path that they're going down. And if you do that, then, okay, if you get to that point, the end of 2027, and you've got four, and we talked about you can't have three anymore, let alone four. If one of those guys is still as good, but just maybe the fit isn't there, that's how you get it done. You move Franz for, the depth, and you go recoup some of the draft capital, or you go get young guys that you add the depth to your team, or you move Jalen Suggs and you get, because all these guys are young. The oldest guy in this is Bane, who's 26. He'll be 27, I think, next month, something like along those lines. But he's the oldest of the group. So, and you've still got Anthony Black, you've still got Tristan da Silva, you've got Jonathan Isaac's money, which you can use to kind of move some things around. Like, they're not completely out of everything. And the thing is about this, and I think this is going to be the move, not necessarily the magic, but like the defining part of this CBA is you get two. But if you've got four like they do right now, or like the Celtics have had, you get a 2-year window with four. But after that, you have to move.
And that right there is why I applaud what Orlando did.